Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. It just so happens that I've had a lot of experience sitting on term setting and paroling authorities in the state of California. So I know our prison system, which is huge, rather well. And recently, 5 BOP employees who worked at FCI Dublin, including the former warden of the facility, were arrested on charges of sexually abusing women who were incarcerated in that facility. And Senator Grassley just spoke about that. Now, this is not an isolated incident. There are regular reports of sexual abuse and harassment of people who are housed in BOP facilities. According to an investigation by the Associated Press in 2020, there were 422 complaints that BOP staff had sexually abused inmates across BOP's system of 122 prisons. Of those claims, 290 are still being investigated. I just want to say that this is unacceptable, and more must be done to ensure this abuse does not continue. So I would like to know, what is BOP doing to address the rampant sexual misconduct taking place in some federal prison facilities?
Thank you, Senator. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to make your acquaintance, and we couldn't agree more. That behavior is egregious. It shall not be tolerated. When you are in our care and custody, you have every right to feel safe and to be safe. And so I take this very seriously. As the former Inspector General of Oregon, I work to help prosecute many of these cases. I will absolutely continue with that philosophy. The Bureau will continue to work with law enforcement to ensure that those individuals get prosecuted. We've done numerous things. As I said, Senator, I visited Dublin personally within my first month on the job. I spent the entire day talking to those in our care and custody and also talking to our employees. And what we have done, even specifically at that institution and at some of our other institutions, is we're beginning with a cultural assessment. What is happening inside the institutions where people didn't feel comfortable coming forward?
Well, maybe I ought to get a response in writing. I'm very serious about this. I've spent a lot of my career in prisons, state prisons in California, trying to straighten out problems. And so let me go on. There are widespread reports detailing BOP's inadequate response to the COVID-19 pandemic. Since the start of the pandemic, at least 48,959 inmates and 14,054 BOP staff have tested positive for COVID-19, and 308 inmates and 7 BOP staff have died from the virus. People in prison are approximately 3 times more likely to die of COVID-19 than the general population. So, last year, the Government Accountability Office conducted a study of BOP's response to the pandemic and issued 3 recommendations: that BOP evaluate the communication of COVID-19 guidance, that you capture and share best practices and lessons learned, and that BOP develop an approach to ensure facilities apply those practices. So I would like to know what steps BOP has taken to implement the GAO's recommendations, and what more can be done to improve the BOP's pandemic response.
Thank you, Senator. This has certainly been an area that I have been interested in, especially as we are looking at the potential of being exposed to monkeypox, making sure that we've learned lessons from COVID as we deal with potentially a new pandemic. So the Bureau has administered over 329,000 doses of COVID vaccines to more than 162,000 individuals. The Bureau offers the vaccine to all newly incarcerated individuals protocols and those who previously refused the vaccine. I know that there are communication measures out there and education out there to ensure that they understand prevention protocols and access to this vaccine. I'm pleased to report that as of earlier this month, almost 66% of those in our custody are fully vaccinated, and 80% of our employees had been fully vaccinated. So I know that the pandemic is still at hand, and we're taking these measures very seriously, including maintaining the CDC criteria implementation at the Bureau.
Thank you, Senator Feinstein. Next is Senator Cotton.
Welcome, Ms. Peters. I have to say, I find myself a bit mystified by the comments that Senator Durbin made earlier. He talked about seeking